Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org. Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway. Their pharmacists are here to help you and your family stay protected, offering a wide range of vaccines, including flu shots and COVID-19 boosters. Stop into the store or schedule online at safeway.com/pharmacy.
Sir Paul McCartney is coming to Denver this fall. He hasn't played here since 2010, and at 83, he's still going strong. His Got Back tour stops at Coors Field on Saturday, October 11th. If you are thinking about going, pre-sale and VIP tickets open tomorrow at 10 a.m. Then general admission tickets go on sale Friday. I'm Arlo Perez Esquivel.
And I'm Haley May. Coming up, a local office that runs elections was attacked in southern Colorado.
He was posting things 2 weeks prior to the fire. It's been 2.5, 3 years, and he's still stewing over it.
What we know about the motive.
Then, about half of Colorado's land is used for farming and ranching. The Trump administration is making several changes to their funding.
The people that are taking advantage of these grants are usually the ones that are, they're not on giant acreages.
Plus, do you ever get thrown off by the way place names are pronounced here? I know I definitely am.
The old guard would insist on calling it Buena Vista.
It's Monday, July 14th. Here's the news in Colorado today. Colorado election conspiracies have crossed into a new territory. Pagosa Springs police have arrested a man for allegedly firebombing a room where voting equipment is kept in the Archuleta County Clerk's office. CPR public affairs reporter Benta Birkeland has the story. Benta, can you tell us more about what happened?
Yeah, so this happened last month, but we're just now learning the details. Pagosa Springs police responded to a fire alarm that went off around 1:20 a.m. And when they arrived on the scene, the highly secure room where the clerk keeps the county's Dominion voting tabulation machines, it was ablaze. Luckily, no one was injured. Nobody was in the room at the time.
Well, that's good to hear. What happened next?
Police went back to review security footage, and they saw that someone had actually thrown a Molotov cocktail through the window and into this voting equipment room. And then law enforcement tracked down the suspect through security footage and arrested him. He's out on bail now, and he faces 2 felony charges.
Wild. Okay, are the machines in this room the same kind that have been a central part of the 2020 stolen election conspiracy theories here?
Yes, Dominion Voting Systems. It's based in Denver, and the machines are used to tabulate paper ballots. They're used in states across the country.
And what do we know about the man who was arrested for this in Pagosa Springs?
He's 71 years old. His name is William Wayne Bryant, and he actually ran for sheriff in Archuleta County back in 2022. He ran as an unaffiliated candidate, and he lost that race. But since then, he's refused to accept that defeat. He's gone to county commission meetings and questioned Dominion Voting Systems. He's wanted the county to not use those machines. And according to this arrest affidavit, we know that Bryant held anti-government beliefs, and he made those public.
Benta, you also talked with the clerk who leads this office. What did she have to say?
This whole ordeal has displaced nearly 30 county staff that were working out of that building, including the assessor's office and the clerk and recorder's office. They're still closed to the public. The clerk is Christy Archuleta, and yes, she has the same last name as the county. And she says since the incident happened last month, they've been working out of a temporary conference room.
And it's unfortunate that people think that we're not doing the job according to law, and this is the outcome.
In the meantime, 13,000 residents in Archuleta County can't do things like in-person vehicle registration, which is another thing the clerk's office normally handles. They say they can see about 100 people a day.
Oh my gosh, frustrating. As someone who covers Colorado politics, is it surprising to you that something like this happened 5 years after the 2020 election?
Yes and no, and it was a question I did pose to some of the people I talked to. I would say the election conspiracies haven't necessarily died down. I covered a trial for the CEO of MyPillow, Mike Lindell, in Denver. Very recently, a jury found that he defamed a former executive of Dominion Voting Systems. Secretary of State Jenna Griswold said she's seen a huge uptick in threats in the last 5 years since Trump amplified the stolen election lie. The incident in Archuleta County still really shocked and appalled her. But the officials I spoke with don't expect any of these threats or election conspiracies to dissipate.
Okay, CPR Public Affairs reporter Bente Birkeland, thank you.
Thanks.
Farmers in Colorado might have lost access to millions of dollars to improve their farms. The Biden administration had allocated over $3 billion to projects across the country that intended to cut greenhouse gas emissions on farms and ranches. But now that has been canceled. We've got CPR reporters Caitlin Kim and Ishan Thakur to help us understand how federal funding changes are impacting farmers in Colorado. Ishan, let's start with you. As I mentioned, this federal program had a budget of over $3 billion. That's a lot of money that farmers were counting on. So why was it canceled?
The Trump administration criticized it as wasteful. They called it part of the Green New Scam. And the original program was tied to these really lofty climate goals that were laid out in the Paris Agreement, which aimed for net zero emissions by 2050. So the program supported projects that help farmers reduce emissions, by using compost or cutting back on tilling, which can really release a lot of carbon into the atmosphere. And the Trump administration objected to the program's climate focus. They also said too little money went directly to farmers. And they wanted future funds to go directly to farmers and ranchers without tracking some of those climate metrics.
So what is the climate argument for keeping the requirements?
Agriculture produces up to a third of global greenhouse gas emissions, so that's obviously a gigantic number. And this program was trying to tackle that. And, beyond that, some projects gave farmers and ranchers access to some really cool technical help. So that can include, microbial DNA sampling, which would help a farmer or rancher improve their soil health and make it more drought resistant and also lock away more carbon.
And can you give me a sense of how many farms and ranches in Colorado got funded?
Yeah, so the USDA says it awarded around $917 million to projects that include Colorado ranchers and farmers. It's a huge number. The Colorado Department of Agriculture got one of those Climate Smart grants, and it was worth roughly $25 million. And using that cash, it was helping over 300 farmers and ranchers. So that cancellation will have a big impact on those producers and their ability to purchase new equipment or get some of their soil tested. Here's how Evan Cavanis, the department's conservation director, put it to me.
It was shocking. It was devastating. And we knew that farmers and ranchers were counting on not only the dollars that our program was providing, but the technical assistance for their upcoming year.
Now, focusing on those farmers and ranchers that were counting on this, how are they feeling about the cancellation?
Yeah, so some people I talked to were disappointed, frustrated, and worried about what's going to come next. So, for example, I spoke to William Vogel. He grew up helping his parents raise beef cattle. In 2001, when a massive drought hit Colorado, part of his parents' ranch went 9 months without any rain, and he watched the whole operation kind of fall apart. Fast forward a couple years, he started his own homestead, he's got a grass-fed lamb business, and he wanted to do things differently. So he started this composting operation, and money from the federal government was supposed to help him expand his operation and make his soil more drought-resistant. But when that funding was canceled, his plans came to a standstill. For Vogel, the big takeaway he told me was pretty simple. Cuts like this could hurt small producers like him.
The people that are taking advantage of these grants are usually the ones that are, they're not on giant acreages.
So then what happens next?
When the USDA canceled the program, they said they were going to rebrand it and launch a replacement called Advancing Markets for Producers. That program is going to use the roughly leftover $2.6 billion from the original Climate Smart Fund, and there's going to be some key differences. So the new program is going to focus on getting a lot more money directly to producers, and they won't require measurement of certain greenhouse gas benefits. And more money going directly to farmers and ranchers, that could be a really good thing, but it's not clear yet how the new program will work and how many former grantees will qualify for it. The state reapplied for a grant, and so did the nonprofit that helped Vogel, that rancher, and both of them are waiting to hear back now.
Turning to Caitlin now, farmers and producers looking for more direct support got good news when Congress passed Trump's big tax law this month. Caitlin, what were those farmers asking for?
Well, for the last couple of years, farmers have been really begging for a new farm bill. It has to be reauthorized every 5 years. The last one was in 2018. This new one is 2 years overdue. They haven't gotten that, but Republicans put some critical elements of the farm bill into the One Big Beautiful Bill, and some people are calling it a skinny farm bill.
And what did farmers get in that skinny farm bill?
Well, the bill increased reference prices, which helps stabilize things for farmers and producers when market prices drop. That's something they say they've needed for a while. You know, as I mentioned, the last farm bill was in 2018. What farmers have to pay to keep farming has increased a lot since then, but the reference prices, the minimum amount they get for certain commodity crops, has not increased since then. Farmers got more money for disaster assistance and crop insurance. Think of the way that hailstorm impacted cherry farms on the western slope this past spring.
Yeah.
And they were also getting more help with price loss coverage. And it also included some base acre adjustments and beginning farmer support.
So that all sounds like this Republican bill was a win for farmers.
Yes and no. I spoke with Chad Franke. He's the president of the Rocky Mountain Farmers Union. He was happy about the updated reference prices and some other programs that benefit farmers and producers. But what he's worried about with this fix is that now Congress won't pass a true farm bill until after the midterm elections in 2026.
And when you start stripping out parts and pieces that people support, you may not get enough support to get the entire thing passed.
And he wasn't the only one concerned about this. I also talked to Pete Kolbenschlag. He's the executive director of the Colorado Farm and Food Alliance. And this is what he had to say about what got left out of the skinny farm bill.
It's detrimental to a lot of things that are important to us, like so-called climate smart agriculture, like funding rural renewables, supporting rural health care.
And that's actually something I heard from a few people in Colorado. It's not just agriculture programs that support farming communities. Medicaid and funding for rural health care are a big part of farming communities as well. And those did take a big hit in the One Big Beautiful Bill.
CPR's Caitlin Kim and Ishan Thakur, thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Whether you grew up in Colorado or you're a transplant like me, you've probably had this very debate with someone you know.
Buena Vista?
Yeah, Buena Vista, Buena Vista.
Buena Vista.
That's a discussion inside our newsroom. I'm from New Mexico. The pronunciation would most definitely be Buena, but that's not really the case here in Colorado.
When I answer the phone, I answer it at Buena Vista, just to give a nod to the heritage, if you will.
Ed Bukowski is the deputy town clerk of Buena Vista. He told CPR's John Daly the town's pronunciation is kind of a generational thing.
It's really kind of a demographic divide.
With the distinction being if you're over 40 or if you grew up there.
The old guard would insist on calling it Buena Vista. A lot of the newcomers are calling it Buena Vista.
John called him up because we got a question from one of our listeners about whether there's a guide to pronouncing place names since they're so often debated. When it comes to speech patterns, people who live in Colorado tend to anglicize words of Spanish, Native American, and French origins. Take this river in southeastern Colorado.
So the French came up through there first to the Anglos, and they named that river the Purgatoire, like the River of Lost Souls. Right.
Our colleague Megan Verlee says after the Cowboys came through, that name changed.
The white Cowboys, when they came through, turned Purgatoire into Picket Wire. And so it's Picket Wire Canyon.
Okay.
So why? Because it's easier. Many people tend to adapt foreign words to their familiar phonetic structures. Think Arvada, Granada, and Alamosa instead of Arvada, Granada, or Alamosa. At CPR, we don't really have a guide, but we do tend to ask for guidance from people who live in whatever place we're reporting on. My colleague Mike Lamp even has a special trick for when he works early in the mornings before anyone's up to answer the phone.
I make the phone call to hear the outgoing message, thank you for calling the town of Longmont, so that I can hear the name of that town the way they say it there.
And if you really don't want to ruffle any feathers, you can always opt for a common Colorado solution and just give it a nickname.
I think the non-denominational would be like BV. It's also affectionately known as BV across the state, too.
I'm looking at you, Rhino, or The Springs, or Breck.
You like potato, and I like potato. You like tomato, I like tomato. But potato.
This question came through Colorado Wonders, where we do our best to answer whatever might be tickling your brain. Submit your question at the link in our show notes.
If we call the whole thing off, then we must part. And oh, if we ever part, then that might break my...
Hey, thank you for listening. I hope you have a great week. I'm Arlo Perez Esquivel.
And I'm Haley May. This is CPR News.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org. Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway. Shop Safeway's brands and get high-quality essentials for low prices. From Signature Select, Lucerne, and O Organics, you can save more on your favorites. Get started at Safeway.com or in the Safeway app.